Controlled disbursement accounts, or CDA accounts. This particular account provides cash managers with certain benefits that they can use to both manage their cash, invest their funds more wisely, and can also provide some controls.
What is a CDA?
Well, a CDA, or controlled disbursement account, is a particular type of account related to paper disbursements. Now, a CDA, or controlled disbursement account, is different from a traditional account in terms of how checks clear and how that information is reported. First, as you can see from the graphic, checks clear at all times throughout the day on a traditional account. So you don't know what your balance is until the following day when your balance reporting information is available. In a controlled disbursement account, checks are restricted and they're presented through the Fed to the bank either once or twice a day. You know by 11 o'clock on that day what checks have cleared. This allows you to make investment decisions or to manage what's gone on and cleared your account. It can also help with your cash forecasting on a next day basis as well.
What is the history of CDAs?
Well, CDAs were started in the heyday of very high interest rates, where it was extremely important to make investment decisions early on because interest rates were 15, 18, 20%. So CDAs grew up out of that arena, and they've added some more features that have other cash management uses since that time.
Do you have to use positive pay with CDAs?
Well, that rhymes quite well. Positive pay with CDA. Some banks require, if you have positive pay, that those sit on a controlled disbursement account. Now, that's not a technical requirement, or that's not a general requirement, but it may be a technical requirement at that bank, and that may be because it sits on the reconciliation system that runs the positive pay system, and those are only linked up with controlled disbursement accounts. But that's really a distinction that occurs at particular banks. That question is answered more appropriately on a particular bank-by-bank situation. That was a very important point.
Why do people use CDAs now?
Well, for the same purposes, to know what has occurred each day. Secondly, it can identify balances that you need, even if you're hooked up to an investment account or a sweep to an investment account, you may want to know what's cleared each day. You can also, on the CDA accounts, sometimes get earlier transaction information to do reconciliation and to manage that.
Do you really need a CDA if you have a sweep set up?
Well, in some cases, that's not necessary. It's an extraneous activity. If you're sweeping automatically to your line of credit or to an investment account, the CDA doesn't get you any better information. It just lets you know more data. If you're not using that for one of the other purposes, then you don't need a CDA for that type of account. But you have to look at what you're using it for specifically. Is he sweating?
Is a CDA related to reconciliation services?
Well, not directly, but they're oftentimes found in the same location. Reconciliation services sit on a particular platform. There's usually 3 brands or 3 flavors at most institutions. One is a partial reconciliation. This is where the bank sends transaction detail back to the organization. These are the checks that have cleared. That can be done on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Full reconciliation is where, typically on a monthly basis, your organization sends a list of issued checks to the bank, and they match those up with what is cleared and provides a reconciliation of sorts back to the organization. And positive pay is the full reconciliation on steroids. That occurs on a daily basis. Transactions are sent, issued checks are sent to the bank so that they're aware of what is clearing, and those are matched up and resolved each and every single day. As you look at this graphic, you can see a first and second presentment on the controlled disbursement account. The first presentment usually occurs fairly early in the morning, and you have access to that through information reporting from most of your banks, and that oftentimes includes 50 to 85% of the total volume and dollars that will occur throughout the day. This is oftentimes used by cash managers. The final presentment shows the total number, and oftentimes is available at around 11 o'clock from your organization.
What should I remember about controlled disbursement accounts?
Well, first you need to answer the question, do you really need all those controlled disbursement accounts? Are you using them for the right types of services in the right way? And secondly, as you define and create your cash management structure, This allows you to identify what services are needed and whether you have the right controls in place. And controlled disbursement account does provide some level of control, and so you need to decide if this is the right types of controls for your organization.